to Turning the Page. I'm host Donnie Morris, owner of Confetti Antiques and Books, and today we have with us Haley Hatch Freeman, who has written a book titled A Future for Tomorrow. Haley, welcome to our program today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, you've written a book that is unlike any other books that we've had authors on our program. Most of the books we've talked about have been nonfiction, or fiction rather. We've had stories about the Old Testament, we've had Santa stories, but this time we have a little more important story to tell to people. And why don't you take a moment and tell the audience what the purpose of your book is?
Well, I am a survivor of the eating disorder anorexia, and my point of getting this book out there is to help prevent eating disorders, as well as let parents and family really into a mind of someone that is suffering from an eating disorder, so they can understand the depth of the illness and hopefully change some lives.
I wanted to start with a quote that's it's on your website. It's www.afuturefortomorrow.com.
Yeah.
That's your website. But here's a quote. It says, "It is inspiring for anyone to read, even if you or no one you know has an eating disorder. It is a book of endurance, faith, hope, courage, parental unconditional love, knowledge of the life after death, and renewal of life, a miracle." And that's by a lady by the name of Kristen in Washington. It really is about anorexia, but it involves so much more.
Right.
Before we started today, we were kind of joking that people often comment to you that, oh, I'd like to have anorexia, because they don't understand that it is a disease, that it is a disease that eats at you.
You bet.
And, my comment back was, yeah, I'd like to be an alcoholic, which nobody would like to be an alcoholic. But why do people not understand what anorexia is?
It's such a complex disease. It's one of the hardest to treat psychologically, because there's so many factors that go into it. It's about control, it's about self-image, it's about hating yourself, it's about so many horrible things. There's never a time during the illness that you're happy. It's because it's usually associated with depression, and it's just an ugly disease. It's addictive. It's something that you have to get help with, or else it will kill you.
Wow. Now, this started in your life at about...
Yeah, I was 15.
15 years old.
And it just started with little thoughts, like little seeds were planted when I'd maybe see a guy that I liked flirting with the girls that looked thinner than me, or I thought were thinner than me, and I thought maybe that if I was thinner, he'd like me better. Also, I remember seeing commercials saying guilt-free ice cream. So, I should feel guilty when I eat ice cream, because this guilt-free ice cream that's fat-free, so it started linking it with sin and guilt, and so when I would eat, I'd have so much remorse and guilt that I didn't want that feeling anymore, and so I would eliminate that food, and then it kept getting to where I used to feel guilty from eating pizza. It traveled to eating bread, or to eating a full piece of an apple, or the guilt just magnified until I weighed 85 pounds when I was put in the hospital.
85 pounds as a 16-year-old?
Yeah, at 16 at that point, and I was almost 5'10".
Wow. So you were gone, basically.
Yeah.
Now, this didn't happen to you in downtown Salt Lake or at one of the big high
Hollywood,
schools.
right.
In Hollywood. You were from Scipio, Utah. A town of 300 people with, one gas station?
That's right, at that time.
Yeah.
Couple, but yeah, I grew up on a ranch, herding cows and riding horses, and it's amazing how much parents and different things from the outside world can affect and build to create this disease.
Now, reading the book, obviously you start at one of your worst times, and you kind of progress back to show people how it kind of started.
Yeah.
And so reading that, it really put me at an understanding of how simple it started. One of the comments was your dad talking to your mother over a brownie.
Yeah.
And your mom wanted an extra half of a helping of brownie.
Right.
And really your dad's comment was not really that out of place. I mean, it was, but one, your mom took it bad, meaning that she got upset.
Right.
And then, so that, I guess, it influenced you to see that as a bad thing.
Well, yeah, his comment was just kind of like, do you really need that? And then I started feeling like if I was fat or heavier, my dad wouldn't love me, and And one of the things I want to get out there more than anything is parents need to not put themselves down in front of their children, because I would learn my mom would put herself down. So I would think, oh, well, to me, she's perfect, and I'm how much less of a person than her, and she's putting herself down, so I need to do that. And then the cycle of dieting. Women that diet or have eating disorders, their daughters are 12 times more likely to have eating disorders.
Really?
Yeah, so you're a big influence as a parent.
So, again, being from Scipio, this is not something that, like we say, is a Hollywood problem necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
This is a young woman problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't hear very many guys being involved with
Yeah, it's
anorexia.
10% of eating disorders is male.
Okay. But for the most part, then,
Yeah.
it's young women. Is it mostly teenagers that it affects?
Anywhere from 6 to 60 is what it's anywhere.
Anywhere.
It's everywhere.
Wow.
It's getting younger and younger.
Now, one of your friends in the book, it was your sophomore year, I believe, Sarah. How old was she when she started?
Yeah, she was young. She was in grade school. She started, actually, her problem was with bulimia. It started incredibly young. And for her, I think it was a self-image issue as well as control.
Now,
So
I believe she said she started when she lived in Mapleton.
Yeah, she lived in Mapleton before she lived in Scipio, and that's where it started for her.
Wow, that's just amazing. Is just stress? Is that what drives these? I mean, the image, stress.
There's so many factors to it. You really need to get help because it's something that you need to dig into.